Let's talk about Pfizer because this criminal organization needs some accounting.
Well, yes, Pfizer does not want to let go of those euros. They're offering the European Union this great deal, continue to pay us for COVID vaccines that we won't ship or make.
Okay, so I'm going to provide you a service, right? I'm a house cleaner. You continue to pay me, but I'm not going to clean your house.
Basically, that's the deal.
That's a great deal.
This is according to reporting from the Financial Times, who say they spoke with two people familiar with the deal because there was a meeting in Europe of European Union nations this week where they were presented with a renewed contract for the Pfizer vaccine for COVID vaccines. And apparently, most of the European nations in that meeting freaked out because the deal involves paying for vaccines that they may never get because demand is down. Here is, according to the Financial Times, it says the U.S. pharmaceutical company has agreed to extend its contract from 2023, because it expires this year, to 2026, according to two people with knowledge of the talks. But it is insisting on payment for doses ordered in the contract that will never be manufactured, angering some governments. Well, I wouldn't like that either. That makes me kind of mad if I were going to pay for things that I may never need. There's no like on demand, like, hey, we think that in the next quarter we're going to use 50, so we'll pay for 50. No, you need to pay for the same amount. They want to sell the same volumes of vaccines that they sold the first time around, even though demand is down, according to the Times. As the severity of the pandemic has waned, it has left the EU committed to paying for unneeded vaccines. About 82% of adults in the bloc have received at least 2 jabs, and more than 1.7 billion doses have been delivered. Contracts were concluded with 8 vaccine developers, providing as many as 4.2 billion doses. So the European Union had to pay for 4.2 billion, but only used less than 2 billion. It says COVID manufacturers, vaccine manufacturers such as Pfizer, are struggling to generate sales on the same scale as at the height of the pandemic. Are we supposed to feel sorry for them for this last bit? I'm struggling with empathy. So the EU has been paying all along for those 4.2 billion doses, and they didn't even use half of that. How, again, did this crappy deal come together, actually? How did we get stuck with this
Wouldn't
deal?
we all like to know?
Oh, yes. Ursula von der Leyen's text messages. That's right. The New York Times found out that she sealed a deal with Pfizer's Albert Bourla over personal texts in order to secure all of these vaccines for the European Union. The Financial Times says that this was a big triumph for the European Union when it happened in 2020. Here's how they spin it. The European Commission claimed a triumph in 2020, meaning it was going to pay for twice the vaccines it needed, when it corralled all 27 member states into a joint contract to order these vaccines before researchers had them approved. So not only did they triumph by ordering twice the amount they needed, they triumphed by forcing the hand of all 27 nation states. Why? Because some nation states don't want a deal like this again. Because the question when I'm asking why is like, why is that even a deal? If 27 nation states says that they're in on something that they can't get out of and may not even want anymore. In fact, Poland, according to the Times, and these 4 countries released a statement today. Poland, Bulgaria, Hungary, and Lithuania, their statement said this: in our opinion, these proposals do not present a fair and final solution to the problems of the COVID-19 vaccine surplus and do not meet the needs of the healthcare systems, the needs of citizens, and the financial interests of the member states. The 4 said the Commission should negotiate a better contract or buy doses from member states that do not want them and donate them overseas. Austria also says it's unhappy with this deal. And in fact, I mentioned this earlier in the show. Hang on just one second, because I think this is a bomb I'm about to drop, is that Poland didn't even pay for their deliveries, and they asked for them to stop last year because of a force majeure. Take a look at this. Warsaw claimed force majeure last year and has not accepted or paid for any deliveries since. This happened last May. Poland Health Minister Adam... No, I'm not going to try that. Do you want to try that last name?
No.
Niedzelsky?
Niedzelsky.
I apologize, said that the deal favored pharmaceutical companies, not EU citizens. And he also demanded that the confidential contract be published. So this is all being negotiated in private. And they're saying, no, we can't do this anymore. Let's see it and let's negotiate what's best for everybody. Go ahead, David.
Well, really quick, what is the definition of force majeure? What does that actually mean?
Okay, so a force majeure is when you have a contract between two entities. There's usually a clause that says that if something that is a force of nature, an unexpected force of nature, that gets in our way, that means that one party to the contract cannot perform, then it lets you out of it. So, like there's a let's say I was going to give a concert to play the ukulele and a hurricane came and I couldn't give that concert. I wouldn't be able to be sued by the concert promoters because of the force majeure.
Gotcha.
So,
and then I also had another question about that. I feel like nobody is talking about, like, don't the vaccines have to be refrigerated at a certain temperature? Now they're saying they have a surplus. Like, don't they have to store those in some kind of refrigeration? And then we're talking about shipping them around and donating them to other countries. Don't they have to maintain a certain temperature to even in that temperature, don't they have a shelf life?
They do. And so this would necessitate some logistics that seem like would also be expensive. So that's a good point. Now, about this force majeure, though, what is Poland claiming was a force majeure? Because there was not a hurricane or an earthquake in that region or anything else. Well, they're saying that the conflict between Ukraine and Russia necessitates a force majeure in their contract. The European Union is saying, no, you can't claim that. And it's interesting because the Western media keeps telling us Poland's doing just fine. Poland absolutely wants to keep supporting Ukraine. Poland is not having a refugee crisis. We know that's not true. We've presented that on the show. Poland is saying something different. Here is the article last May when they had invoked this force majeure to get out of their obligations to Pfizer and Moderna. And the European Union is now fighting that in court and saying, no, you can't claim this. But they have not paid or accepted any since then.
Because they're saying we don't have a refugee crisis. We're fine. And this is like the great scam, right? We've covered it here on the show. Mike Rupa's been on the show where we've talked about the refugee crisis where it is now a Ukrainian country in many ways. You go into, he's like, when you walk through Warsaw, when you walk through these little towns that heretofore you would just hear Polish, now you hear Ukrainian. Like millions of Ukrainians living in Poland now and permanently now going to be living there. So how the services being able to provide for these people, the answer is they can't. It's being crushed under the weight of this.
Right. Well, here's what they say. Take a look. Poland invoked the force majeure clause in the contract with Pfizer. I didn't know that there even was one. In the wake of the war in Ukraine, which saw an influx of about 3 million Ukrainian refugees in the country. So apparently in this contract that was negotiated by Ursula von der Leyen's DMs, there was a force majeure clause. Now, the European Union and the European Commission is saying this doesn't qualify. You can't claim it. And they're going to fight it in court. But if they succeed, other European countries that are receiving an influx of Ukrainian refugees may be able to use this to get out of their contracts because it would seem there is no other way. Take a look at this. The Financial Times is saying that countries that do not sign up this renewed plan to pay for vaccines you don't get, if they don't sign up, they remain locked in the original contract terms. That seems like you can't get out of it, period. So they're screaming like, renegotiate the deal, and they're saying we're not gonna, and you'll be locked in this anyway.
It's like Goodfellas. It's like the pharmaceutical industry is the top of the mob thing, and then the European, like these leaders are like, F you, pay me. You don't like this? F you, pay me. You want this? F you, pay me.
Yeah. We'll shake you down. Like, we'll give you protection. Yeah. Like, you better pay us, though. You better pay us.
I mean, everybody should have a sweet deal like this. You need to get yourself a lawyer that can, negotiate you a deal like Ursula von der Leyen. We may never know exactly how that went down, although we may soon know how that came about because the New York Times is suing the European Commission for her texts because they want to see it. They're claiming freedom of information. They want to know how this went down. They continue to chase this story, although the EU has faced requests for these before, but claimed that the text messages may have been deleted due to their short-lived, ephemeral nature.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, this just gave me a brilliant
texts.
Yeah.
This just gave me a brilliant marketing plan. I think what I'm going to do later today is I'm going to go to the Redacted store and I'm just going to get a bunch of random addresses and send a bunch of stuff COD.
Okay. That's
Just
how we'll
start
make
sending
some
out
money.
things to our viewers. COD. You don't pay. You know.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I mean, that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think about that in the chat. I'm definitely interested in this, how this contract's going to go down. But I'm really interested in what's going to happen with Poland being able to claim a force majeure because of a war, because all of Europe should be able to do that.
Right. Yeah. And oh, by the way, we don't have a refugee crisis, but here on paper, we're admitting that we have millions of refugees.
Yeah.
Like you've been lying about it, and now here it is in this contract.
Right.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.